One of those questions for which there is no definitive answer has to do with where do you place your time-based effects in your signal chain. Do you go straight in the front of your amp? Do you put them on the effects loop? Or, as I discussed in my 4-cable method video, neither of those two. Spoiler alert, I'm not going to give you an answer. What I am going to do is take 3 delay pedals, 3 reverb pedals, an amplifier and a guitar, and I will show you how they will sound different according to the place where you put them on your signal chain. Before we start, here's a quick word about my choice of pedals. This video is not sponsored by TC Electronics, they're not paying me to do this, and I could have done this with any other pedal brand. The only issue here is I wanted to use 3 pedals of the same type of effect times 2, so 3 delays and 3 reverbs, capable of running the exact same algorithm with the exact same parameters, and in a way that I can simply switch between them without having to be swapping cables around or using any other means of blah blah. So yeah, I could have done this with Boss, Moore, anything. I just happen to have 3 flashbacks, 3 Hall of Fames, so here we are. With that out of the way, signal chain. I'm going to be using the Harley Benton Aeolus. You've probably seen the video. If you haven't, go check it out after this video. There's a lot of people still asking me if I'm still using this guitar nearly 1 year onwards. And the answer is yeah, of course I am. It's a great guitar. It's not dependent on the price. It's just a great guitar. If you want to get one for yourself, A, I think you're going to be really happy with it if you like this style of semi-hollow guitars, and B, get it from the link in the description or the pinned comment. You will be helping me keep the channel's lights on. Thank you. So from the guitar, I'm going into a TC Electronics Spark Boost. No, they're still not paying me. I just happen to love this boost. And then I'm going into the first cluster of time-based effects. So I'm going into Flashback 2 and Hall of Fame 2. And these pedals go in the front of my amp, which is right there. Out of the amp, from the effects synth, we're coming into the Flashback 2 and Hall of Fame 2, this time the regular sized pedals, back into the effects return of the amp, so between preamp and power amp, as most effects loops are. And finally, from the Marshall speaker output, we're going into a Torpedo Captor 8, and from the Torpedo Captor 8 into the TC Electronics Impulse. Yeah, I've gone all TC today. So I'm using the Impulse. You've watched the video, right? Yeah. Which is an impulse response loader, i.e. cabinet simulator. And from the Impulse, I'm going into yet another Flashback and another Hall of Fame, this time the X4 versions. From these, I'm going into my interface. In your situation, you could be going into a mixing desk, into a recorder, into a flat response, full range flat, FR speaker. So as I've said before, all of the delays and all of the reverbs are running the same exact tone prints with the same exact parameters. So obviously one tone print for the flashbacks, another one for the Hall of Fame. Slightly exaggerated for the purpose of this demo, so you can actually hear the effects. It might not be what you'd be using in a real world scenario, words, but it's what we're going to be using for this demo, so you can hear the differences more clearly. And with that out of the way, let's pick up a guitar and start making noises. Let's start with the clean channel of the JCM 800 Studio Classic thingy. So it's the low input channel, which has quite a lot of headroom for such a nice gain amp. It's not high gain, it's nice gain. I'm running both gain and master volume at around 6, which could be considered already a bit silly, but I like this. Let's start with reverb, and we'll start with the one that's placed after the impulse, so at the end of the signal chain, because that's going to be as clean as our effects can get. So this is what we have. Nice, pristine, long. By the way, I'm using a 3-second tail. Okay, that's our benchmark. Now let's do the same effects, remember this, with the Hall of Fame that's placed in the effects loop of the amp. Right off the gate, louder, a bit more compressed. Let's benchmark it again. So, linear decay tail. This one more in your face, straight there at you. And the one in front, also compressed. And dry sound. back to benchmark. There's also another thing going. I'm running that particular reverb in stereo, so everything that I'm using after the impulse I'm using in stereo, which is something you cannot do with only one amplifier if you're going either in the front or in the effects loop. So there is that difference. But there is definitely some more compression and a less linear tail to your reverb. Let's now do the same with delay. Remember, it's a tape delay. I've set 440 milliseconds. I've got 2 repeats going, one at 440, which is the quarter note, and a dotted 8 of 440, which is 300 something. I don't know. Stereo again. Let's go to the effects loop. Slightly more present. Again, it's mono. And the one in front. So you can hear the difference between the 3 of them. Thing is, because we are running our amp with such high headroom right now, the effects are still very clean. So they're more present, they're more compressed, but they are still clean. They're not tripping over each other, they're not tripping over the notes. To the point that, let me try and do both reverb and delay. I'll do the same with effects loop. And the ones in front. I'd be perfectly happy using either of these situations. If I wanted stereo, I would have to run in the last one, but if I would be happy with mono, I could happily use in the front or in the effects loop. I'm now going to swap to the high input on the Marshall, and I'm going to bring down the volume on the impulse because this might get loud. Okay, we have gain. We are now on the high input on the Marshall. Master is around 6, gain is around 4. I've cut it down a bit. So we're well into crunch territory. This is no longer edge of breakup or clean by any measure. And I have the spark if I need it. Enough faffing. Let's do our reverb again. End of the chain after the impulse. Gnarly sound, clean reverb. Effects loop. Okay, even more compressed than it was before. And we now have some grain on the reverb tail. And there's another thing that I'm going to show you, which is I'm going to try and do single note lines, or as close to it as I can get. With the reverb after the impulse, all of my notes can be perceived independently, just in a bigger space. I'm going to try the same with the one in the effects loop. There's a bit more graininess to the reverb on the tails whenever the notes overlap over each other. I don't know that you can hear it over YouTube, but I'm hearing it in ears. Same parameters, front of the amp. Much more present. Let me compare this with that. Remember, we're still running the exact same parameters on the tone print. Same levels, same decay tail, everything. And if I go for single note, See, still going, even though it's a 3-second delay. It's been compressed and distorted, yada yada. The thing that you can hear mostly when you do the reverb into distortion thing is that the notes that are still sounding on the tail of the reverb are now intermodulating with the ones that you're playing. So hear the difference? Okay, let's try the same with delay again. Clean delay. Bit more nasty, and in the front. You get much louder repeats. Single note stuff. Effects loop. Front of the amp. The same thing that was happening with the reverb is happening here, i.e. the notes that are playing, your repeats, are now overlapping with the notes that you're still trying to play and distorting slightly. But because they're at a lower level, something fun is happening, i.e. the amplifier is ducking your delay and making it show up once you stop playing, because there isn't so much stuff compressing on the tubes and distorting. Let me try this. You can hear my delay staying at the same volume when I'm playing all of the notes. Now listen to this with it going into the front of the amp. When I'm playing, you can barely hear the repeats. The moment I stop playing, poosh, they come in. It's an interesting side effect of what happens inside your amp as it's compressing and distorting. If you like this sound, there's nothing wrong with it. If you don't like it, there's also nothing wrong with not liking it. But the thing is, there are ways of making it work. So let's try with the reverb. We like this. Well, I do. In the effects loop. It's a bit more aggressive, so one of the things we can do is start bringing down the level. That works for me. And in the front, bring it down even more. And a little bit of tone. Just like the delay, the problem that you have with this is your reverb tail is being ducked under your main sound, so you will feel like your guitar doesn't have enough reverb when you're playing, and it'll probably have too much when you stop playing. So again, if you like it, awesome. If for some reason you are listening to the sound and you don't really know why you don't like it, listen to the tails when you're playing and when you stop playing. Let's try and do the same with the flashback. So again, after the impulse. Nothing wrong with that for me. It's a bit loud, but it's for demonstration purposes. And now on the effects loop, very loud. I could live with that. Front of the amp. Too loud. Gets worse with the boost, because obviously the boost is making everything saturate even more. I'm hitting the front end of the amp like a ton of bricks, which will distort the delay even more. So again, you can hear it when you stop playing, you can't hear it as much. So if you want a constant delay when you play, it might get in the way of your notes, but if you knock it down just a tad. But it's constant, you know, it doesn't hit back at you like this one does. It's a thing. I'm going to just do one more thing. I'm going to push the amp. Now I have master 8, gain at 6. Yeah, you can hear the hiss. It's doing what it's supposed to do. What happens in this situation? So let's once again start with reverb. Let's reset all of the parameters here. So, reverb. Nice space, same as always. It doesn't really care about how hot you're running your amp. Effects loop. Much louder, because we're driving the power amp into distortion, into compression, into everything. So the way to fix this, bring the level down. And once again, as you're playing, you can't hear it. Stop playing, it comes back at you. Front of the amp. Yeah, it's being driven really hard. For this one, you really need to knock down the level. Let's try it with the delay. Clear, clean, easy to listen to. Oop, forgot to reset this one. In your face, like the reverb, just compressing, just hitting you like a ton of bricks. So let's knock it down. And in the front. It gets in the way, so just like the reverb, knock the level down. And be prepared for your guitar to sound really dry as you're playing and really wet when you stop. Now, one of the funny things that you can do is mix and match. I'm going to bring the amp down to more acceptable levels. Yep, I'm happier with that. Back to master on 6, gain around 4. So one of the things I like doing is having my reverb after everything, because I know it's constant, I know what it's doing, I know I can control it. Such as this. And then I either have my delay just before it, Basically what this means is neither of those effects are being affected by the volume that you're using on the guitar, boosts, drives, anything. Nothing is affecting them. And to me, that is kind of important on a situation like a reverb, because I feel like your room doesn't change as you make your guitar louder or softer or cleaner or dirtier. That's why I prefer to have my reverbs towards the end of the chain, unless I'm looking for a very specific effect. But the delay, it's a matter of taste. Because I can want my delay to not be affected by anything, or I can want it in the effects loop, because the delay is supposed to be more of an effect rather than a space thing, and when you hear a natural delay occurring in any natural room, you know somebody screwed up. So because it's more of an effect, I don't mind it being changed more by the way that I'm playing my guitar. So this is something that I will do. I'll leave my reverb after everything and start bringing my delay to the effects loop or even to the front. And I will play with the fact that I can only hear it when I stop playing notes. Or you can do what I just did, which is invert the order of effects and put your reverb into the front of the amp and your delay afterwards. Or, why not, everything all at once. So as you could hopefully hear, there's something to be had in each placement of the pedals in your signal chain. Personally, I prefer to have my reverbs towards the end and my delays somewhere in the middle, but if I want a slightly gnarlier, dirtier sound, I don't mind running everything into the front of the amp, even when it's running dirty. It's just a matter of tweaking it to your liking. But as I've always said, this is not a spectator sport, so please take your delay pedals, take your reverb pedals and put them everywhere in your signal chain. Experiment with them, put them in the front effects loop, reverse the order, put your reverbs before and your delays after, and come up with your sound, the stuff that makes you tick, the stuff that inspires you to experiment and play more. So let me know in the comments what's your preferred location for these types of pedals and how you like to run them, what type of algorithms you prefer, analogs, tapes, halls, rooms. I'm quite curious to know how you run your time-based effects, if any. If you're lucky enough to play in a really nice room, you might not even need reverb or anything. And that's it for this video. So a massive thank you as always to everybody who's bought me coffees. You guys are helping keeping the lights on the channel. And if you want to buy any of this stuff or any other stuff, there are going to be affiliate links in the description. You know how they work. You buy stuff, I get a small commission that once again helps keep the channel's lights on. So until the next video, bye.